post-Atlanta PTC Guile treatment. We have the winner, Tim Keefe, joining us. I was there too.
Yay, Rob!
I didn't make top 8 because some other guy was playing the same character as me and did a little better.
Just a bit. He did Swiss champ it, so,
He was 5-1, I was 4-2. I had a better strength of schedule, whatever.
Maybe you should have just won that extra game then, and then
I should have just beat him head to head, maybe.
But, yeah, that's probably what you should have done. Yes,
ridiculous thing to ask for.
That's what you should have done. But Tim, thanks for coming on again. We appreciate it. I know you're like our fourth horseman of the apocalypse of the Guile treatment. Sometimes we have you come on a lot, so just padding those stats for the Guile treatment. So.
Yeah, maybe you guys thought you weren't going to have me on for a while, so I just forced myself.
I was like, oh man, we're going to get Dave Wagner and his sweet hair, and then I was like, oh, Tim's taking care of business though.
So before we get into the nitty gritty of the PTC, we got some scoreboard tallies to go over. So,
of course,
I'm still in the lead, everyone.
Still,
I'm at 5 points. J. Ray came through for the guests. He got attendance correct and diversity correct. He got attendance spot on, but we didn't do anything prior to the season starting about getting spot on numbers, so you only get 1 extra point. I got Tim winning with Lilith 2 and diversity. Rob skunked. Barrett skunked. I think if I get to 10 points...
Rob skunked because he picked Goro and Raptor as the people that were...
Hey, he was really close, though. He was pretty close.
Yeah.
I was watching Rodney play Wagner in top 4. I was like, well, I'm guaranteed to have at least 1 pick in the finals.
All I was like, come on, Tim, you could do this.
I was like, nobody picked Lilith.
Yeah. Chris said he picked Lilith because Marco might run it.
Yeah,
and I messaged him immediately after I heard that. I'm like, really?
Yeah. Then he's like, oh, really? I'm like, oh, shit, I forgot you were doing that. And then I was like, yeah, it's in the bag. I got this. And then, so I'm at 5. Guests are at 2. Rob and Barrett are both at 2. So it's a 3-way tie for last place right now. So don't shake your head. And I think if I get to like 10 points before you guys get to 5, I think we're just going to call the season. We're going to skunk rule it.
Hey, Chris, how you doing in your fantasy league with the Rochester guys?
Oh, I'm dead last because I'm playing for next year, buddy. Tim jumped me, so I am now in dead last because I traded him Lilith for Yamato Man. So I'm in dead last. And then Piglet's almost close to jumping Sean. So that means I will get the wraparound pick because I get Piglet's first round pick. So I'll go first, last, then first. So I'll get 3 picks pretty much in the top first round. So yeah, I'm playing for next year, man. Playing for next year.
Sure.
Yeah, I should be doing that, but I don't believe in tanking. So.
Hey, man, it worked for the Cubs. It doesn't work for the White Sox, but so whatever. But so moving on, Tim, you went and played Lilith.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about a little bit about how you came to fruition about the deck? Unless Rob has something else you'd like to go over. Anything else? I don't know. Nope. Okay, go for it, man.
All right. Yeah. I mostly, because we know Worlds is going to be post Soul Calibur.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to burn this event playing something that wasn't going to help me at all in terms of post Soul Calibur testing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have some Premier Store events I can go to now, which is great. But I still want to, use these PTCs to warm up and progress and get more familiar with the format and different deck options and stuff going into Worlds. And so originally I wanted to run Water Lilith at this because, Soul Calibur, she gets the creature Yuga and whatnot. And so I had run in Earth Lilith at a Premier Store event just because I kind of wanted to try Lilith. And that version was that version had the 4X Nutcracker and it was 4X Akimbo. It didn't have Missile Launcher yet.
Okay.
The damage output was a little bit iffy. And so I was like, maybe I'll try this water build, and I won't have Krita Yuga yet, obviously, but I'll go 3-3 or whatever, and I'll just get more familiar with Water's cards because I don't play Water very much.
Okay.
And then somewhere along the way, a week or so before the event, or 10 days or 2 weeks before the event or something like that, I was just like, I'm just going to put Missile Launcher in Lilith. Why don't we just do that? And
why not?
It'll be fine, probably.
He's like some crazy guy was just ranting about missile launcher nonstop. And I thought, that card would be pretty good, Lil.
Yeah, and also because I can't bring myself to like water more than I like earth. Water obviously has plenty of nice foundations, but
Sure.
they're kind of like good at doing little things, and they do some little things really well. And there's certainly some just really good pieces like the Jada -5 speed one.
Mm-hmm.
But they're just not as sort of broadly generically powerful as a lot of Earth's foundations are. So I kind of gave up on the water idea. And when I thought about the Earth idea, I was like, well, with Soul Calibur, all that really happens is my foundations get better.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's nothing really other than Cosfeel, Karma, and Spirit Sword. There's not a lot from that set that goes into this deck. Mm-hmm. That's even like remotely applicable. I mean, it could play like one of Sofichi's foundations or something. So I was like, I'd basically be testing a slightly weaker version of a Soul Calibur deck. And I knew from the Premier Store event that Lilith can really, really annoy Akuma, and that's a good plus.
Yeah.
I didn't beat the Akuma in the match that I played, but that was also without Missile Launcher. And so I figured I'd give it a run. And I split my matches against Akuma.
Did you play both of them?
Yeah.
Was there was 3, right? And I think there was 3.
There were.
There was Ben, there was Bromley, and then I think Daniel Poles played him too.
Oh, he might have.
But I think after round 3, his day didn't go as well. I think so.
It was honestly like a pretty weird field. Looking at it after, I think it was like there were like 12 characters that had like one person playing them, and then there were like 11 that had like 2 to 4 people playing them.
Sure.
So it was like
how many?
Yeah,
4. Oh wow.
Yeah,
that's nuts.
Yeah, there were a couple. There were like I think 2 or 3 characters that had like 4 people playing it, and then there were like a bunch of stuff that had 2.
Okay. So you progressed from your premier stores, and then so this, like you said, you're not gonna have to change too much going into Worlds. But do you think that defensively she may be one of the better characters in the set, just because she can seal attacks, or?
It's a great defensive ability. Some people know I played Kazuya Mishima for 2 years, and his big thing was he basically had self-destruct on a stick. When he stacked a character, he could F-commit, toss it, and self-destruct.
That's kind of cool.
He could self-destruct at any point in time during the turn after he had attacked and built, and it was a little silly. But basically, like at the time, there were a lot of really like Wally Wall Grey War decks, and Kazuya just kind of trumped them and made their day go really badly. He had like 70-80% against all of those decks. Sometimes 90-95, depending on what it was.
Yeah.
And he could, with the crazy chaos attacks that existed at the time, he could hang with the aggro decks. And so, yeah, I'm reasonably, any character that comes along that's kind of like that, where there's going to be decks in the field that are pretty popular that they just give a really hard time. I'm going to be interested. I'm interested in Taki for similar reasons. Taki's not out yet. Lilith is. So wanted to give it a try. Obviously, there are decks like Akuma that really want their Kongos. There are decks that really want their Coffee Sambas. There are decks that really want their Air Ground Smash. Things like that. She can just make life really tough on that.
That sort of like seems like Lilith's biggest thing, at least like defensively, is like they're not going to beat you with their best piece unless they have 2 of them. It's like, and even then, it's like they're not going to beat you with the best piece like the first time they play it. I mean, obviously, like unless they have an out of your league or something like that.
Yes.
And so, right, it's sort of. I know you sort of said like decks that are kind of like a very linear game plan, where it's like I want to do exactly this. Like they can have trouble because it's like, okay, well, that one's getting turned off. Do you have another one? Do you have like a plan B? Like what's sort of like what does everything around it do? And like, can you kill me with just that?
Yeah, I can see like Akuma being like that, and that's probably I know he split against the Akumas on the weekend, but that just seems like that's something that she can just trump him because like you have to beat me with Shoten and Devil Slayer or Gyro Attack. Or
I mean, it depends.
Yeah.
It depends
on what the Akumas run.
Yeah, it depends.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but Ben's had Coffee Samba, so I have two things that I really need to turn off. I made him block with his what's the word? Kongos. Because it's a +0 low blocking with my attack lineup. He was blocking with those. So, yeah, it was definitely really hard for him to kill, but I couldn't. He was really hard for me to kill, right? And,
sure. Yeah.
So the game kind of got stressed. I played really badly that match in general. But the flip side is that finding a way, like, that's great and all, but you still need to kill people, right? Having that defense and the all 3 damage attack, I'm going to pass a little 5+. This plan just has not been very impressive to me. I understand like the chaos build can really ramp that up to be huge, but it's still sort of kind of an all-in turn kind of thing. And I tend to shy away from those decks because if you go all in and then you get defused at the last second, which a lot of good players will do, they'll just sort of debate you into the big commitment. Then you're just dead.
Yeah, that was one issue when I was playing a Chaos Lilith just locally for a few weeks, and it just seemed like if I wasn't making the 5+, it just wasn't really going anywhere. You could swallow your soul, which is great because that can this on its own get you big damage, but outside of that, it's if you miss your 5s.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of the concern with Mitsurugi, right? It's just like, man, he can do everything, and it's like, okay, what happens when you check the 3s? What happens on 2 attacks when you go to make the 5+? You check a 3. I mean, I know Tim had. I mean, to peer ahead into the future, he had an attack against Wagner in the finals where if he checked a 3 on the 5+, he killed him, and he checked a missile launcher, and as a result left him at 1.
Yep.
And then Dave ended up like living. Yeah, he lived for like 4, 5, 6 more turns or whatever. Yeah. And what are you gonna do? Yeah. Like. So yeah, I mean, if you just go, all I need to do is pass this 5+. You get dicey.
Yeah, and you still, you still want to make sure your deck can leverage that ability. Because 5+ for like +3, +3, +4, +4 is certainly worth it, and you'll commit 2 for it.
Sure.
On a regular basis. But you don't want to be wholly reliant on that. So Nutcracker and Missile Launcher do pretty good work without your character needing to give them stats.
Yeah, because Nutcracker just gets you a free +1/+1 anyway, just by putting something in your pool, which is kind of nice.
Yep. Nutcracker adds 1 to the rest of the turn.
Your foundation lineup was completely different from what I built my Vicious. Because I've been talking to you about like an Earth Vicious, and I was just like, well, Lilith gets better low blocks just because she can play Finding the Relics, and it's more relevant in her than it is in like Vicious because it's a +2 low or whatever. But Commander of the Outworld's armies. Was that like an early edition, late edition? Did you have 4, then cut it down to 2? Because that card seems like it's really good.
My first build was a 4/2 with Warframe Armageddon and Commander, and I decided I kind of liked it that way. I added the Act of Treason.
Yeah,
afterwards.
I saw that.
But the Commander's a little weird because it can be negated by like overly dramatic and people don't really play Fueling Up anymore, but it can be negated by that. And you do need to take 4, and there's some 3 damage theme decks running around. I remember the Jade I faced in Top Cuts was a 3 damage theme deck.
Oh, okay.
So if he wanted to just sort of poke me with a throw or something, he could just leave it at 3, and then I can trigger Commander.
Sure.
And you have to like take an unblocked attack, right? So you don't want to rely on Commander for all of your anti-foundation needs, and also, how much foundation hate do you need? I settled for 7.
I mean, the other thing too, and if I can cut in, because I was running Commander obviously for Goro.
Yeah.
And the thing I found is, a lot of the times when I would use it, they would just stop attacking me. Which on the one hand is like fine, but for somebody like you, I mean, you're obviously like less life than, far less than 40. And so like, if you're just like, oh, I'll just take like this 5 damage move, like flip that foundation, and like, the next one will be 2 less, so like that's good. But if they just like are like, okay, I'll lob this at you, you flip my thing, I'll like build another copy of it or something, and then you're just like, oh well, I just took a free shot
damage.
and really didn't gain anything out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I mean, reducing the next attack, like if you're planning on blocking that, like it kind of doesn't help.
Yeah.
So
obviously it's there for the flip and the targeted flip, and it can flip things that were for Armageddon can't flip. It's really good. If I could like magical time portal fit 4 copies in without making the deck bigger somehow, right? I might do that, but I needed to stretch for off zone blocks.
Sure.
And I wanted to. You see, there's a lot of like one-ofs in this deck that do sort of random things. I kind of wanted to, because Karma resets speed and messes with enhances, which you can't replicate, and Spirit Sword messes with speed. So I kind of wanted most of my like sporadic oddball cards to do things kind of like that, so that I was like some distance closer to the deck this was eventually going to be.
Sure.
But yeah, Commander's really. It's obviously really good against Raptor. I don't need to seal an attack to be able to use it.
Yeah. You guys want to get into some of the other top 8 decks? I don't know. Do you have anything else you like to talk about your deck, Tim? Anything else you want to? Any cool things you may want to, point out to people?
Obviously, a very big deal with this deck is there's a Vicious in the sideboard.
Okay, let's talk about. Okay, sorry, I forgot. Let's talk about the Vicious in the sideboard. Let's do that.
So, I was saying before that there are decks that do not mind Lilith Tsar very much, right? There's the Swiss Champ Goro deck. There are decks that they're kind of just sort of playing whatever attacks, and they're just going to put stats on all of them. And if Lilith Tsar isn't live and you're just playing her for her E, she's not a very exciting character.
Sure.
So I wanted, since I was running missile launchers, it was fairly plausible to switch this into a Vicious out of the sideboard. Right, I bring in the 4th missile launcher, I bring in the Dark Cheeritos, and maybe your real Vicious deck isn't running, Soul Flash and Cryptic Needle or whatever, but it's close enough to, Mayfuzz or whatever you're actually running. So, and it gives me access to Dark Cheerito, right? If Lilith is bad or if Dark Cheerito is really good, in comes the Vicious. And I wound up bringing him in 4 out of my 9 matches.
Oh, wow. That's great.
So he was very relevant.
Okay.
That came in against Yamato Man. It came in against Goro for very obvious reasons. And I used him against Jada in the top 4.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, we were getting updates of your finals match on Discord by Thomas, the reporter Gordon. And it was, you could feel, let's talk about your finals before we move on. You could feel the tension, like by his reporting, the way he was saying things. You could feel how tense it was, just because of like how he was just saying. I was like, I was watching something on TV.
Like the turn 2 kill attempt or whatever on that game.
Yeah.
And I got some 5s in my first couple attacks, so I went for the Swallow Your Soul for lethal, and I basically needed to check anything other than back-to-back attacks, and I got the back-to-back attacks, and so I left him at 1.
Yeah.
And I had to sequence the Soul Flash first, and then the Swallow Your Soul, or the math wasn't going to work. So I leave him at 1, but he's Raptor, and he has, in theory, healed by a Shaman in his deck, although it took him a while to find it. He's got a bunch of +0 blocks, and so I was going to need like a real attack hand to be able to actually shove that 1 damage in. And the next turn I had a missile launcher and 5 foundations, and like that's not actually going to work.
Yeah.
And the next turn I got a Cryptic Needle, and then I played my foundations, and I checked my 3rd Swallow Your Soul, which is what I really wanted. It's just the throw. And I like count my attacks, and there's like 16 cards left in my deck, and I'm like, none of those cards are orange. And so, just because I knew people were like reporting to the Discord or whatever, I like wrote down no attacks left in this deck and like showed it to them. And so I actually wound up, he tried to poke me with a kneecapper, which I was worried was going to be like a kill turn attempt until he popped his high seas on his own kneecapper for nothing because I had already sealed it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he's not killing me. He's just, because he wasn't drawing like hot orange himself, right?
Yeah.
And whatever he did draw, he had to worry about the possibility of a cryptic needle coming in. So he needed a hand that could attack me and still block that thing and still keep attacking, or, so he was having a hard time assembling like a real attack turn himself. But when I sealed that kneecapper, I took the chance to like make some checks with sense of morals and whatnot. And I used Voices in the Dark to shuffle the Swallow Your Soul back into my deck, which I had gotten down to like 10 cards.
Sure.
Or 7, or like 10, 9, 8. I think by the time my turn came around, I had 7 cards left in my deck, and I was drawing 4, looking for the Swallow Your Soul. And I drew the 4, and of course it wasn't there.
Yeah.
He had Ophidiophobia. I treasoned it out. I didn't really have... I didn't have Nutcracker. All my attacks were gone. I still just had the missile launcher and the cryptic needle. And he had deployed 2 shamans, so I sure wasn't killing him just by like lobbing attacks.
Yeah, no.
So I played 1 Foundation, checked not Swallow Your Soul. So there's 2 cards left in my deck.
One of them to Swallow Your Soul.
One of them Swallow Your Soul, and I'm drawing 2 cards next turn. So he has to attack me.
Yeah.
To force me to burn my last 2 cards, and I was able to turn that into the win, just by
forcing him to attack. Yeah,
and he wound up his whole hand that turn was just 1 Hurricane of Death and 6 Foundation, so he didn't even have much to go.
Sure,
yeah.
And the moment he used Shaman, Cryptic Needle was going to be able to force the last card out of his hand, because once you're into Shaman, you're never going to have more than 1 card in your hand. So that card's going to have to block the needle. And then he form flips the Shaman to just draw the heart of the cards, draws a Hurricane,
that was
plays
awesome.
it to force me. It wasn't going to kill me. I was obviously going to block it, but he made me check the Swallow Your Soul.
Yeah.
At cycle, and there was a little drama about him going to draw an attack or not, but I still had the missile launcher the whole time.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. That's hilarious. Yeah, I really wish they would add the stream up for that, because that would have been really cool to watch. I know they had some issues with it or whatever.
I think the stream stuff was from the UFSU guys, and
sure.
I guess Tam was there early, right? But I don't know if they like really brought
they had drivers.
Oh yeah, that's right. They had to leave pretty early. Yeah.
I mean, another event, another like round of slops for Jasco, various event-related running things.
Yeah, I heard you guys got booster packs though. That's a plus. I guess
there was a booster pack.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
The event was in an abandoned department store because reasons. Nobody knew when registration was because it was never posted, so we just started at 1.
Okay.
The mall opened on noon on Sunday, which made getting through top cuts before people had to like leave and stuff kind of dicey.
Yeah.
Managed to fit it in, but that was kind of scary.
Sure.
And again, the whole tired thing that we rag on every time if Jasco can't bring their own stream setup for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know what the excuse is at this point. You just have to care enough to spend 30 minutes or an hour on Amazon or whatever putting one of these together.
I mean, my setup's just my phone and a $30 Walmart tripod, and all you need is a Wi-Fi signal to stream.
Right, but I mean, you can do something like a little nicer.
Oh no, I'm saying Jasco themselves could get nicer equipment. I'm just not to that point yet with my setup where I want to spend that much money on it. But the not knowing when registration started, that's I kind of don't want to break away from talking about the decks and stuff, but I guess we're kind of on this tangent at the moment. It's kind of unacceptable because as an event, as a TO, personally, I've run multiple PTCs. Everybody knows registration starts at 9, event starts at 10, player meeting goes to 10:15, and then we start round 1 at 10:15. Everybody knows that. And that's posted months in advance. It's sometimes reiterated every day the week of the tournament because I don't want anyone to be late. I don't want no one to know when stuff is happening and all that. And plus, it's just easier for people having an earlier event. I get it if they can't get into the venue until X amount of time, but maybe it shouldn't be there then because especially if you plan on running like one round of top 8. Like in Rockford, we start top 8 like at 5, and then we're out partying at Trent's house like at 7 o'clock, 8, eating dinner and stuff. So it's like, especially if you make plans afterwards, it's kind of hard to screw around with time like that.
Yeah. I think going forward, anytime they're looking to set up PTCs, if any premier store comes to them and says, "Hey, can we hold it at our store run convention?" Instant big yikes! Don't do it.
Yeah.
Just don't do it because the 2 times they've done that have been awful, right? It was Guelph and then this.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I won both events for some reason. So the 2 events I won have been the worst locations. But, because, first and foremost, like the store staff themselves is going to be preoccupied with running this event.
Mm-hmm.
And they're...
I don't know
how well run
from the store. So
I mean, if we did, they weren't introduced as such. I never actually saw the store itself.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
They have a lot of things to handle that weekend, and like whether or not the UFS event runs smoothly or is in a good location or whatever is just not a priority for them. Right? They've got all these panels and things to run all these concerns. And also, it just adds many more levels of planning beyond like, oh, they're just going to like go to the store and play at the store.
Mm-hmm.
So like it turned out like the con on Saturday started at 10. The event was listed to start at 12. The store's opening hours were at 12. So people who didn't realize that we were going to be playing like somewhere in the con and not at the store, wherever the store was, would have assumed that we can't even get in the doors until 12.
Yeah.
Which is why we thought that maybe registration was at 12, but they kind of wanted to start at 12, but they couldn't because there was no registration time posted.
Sure.
And it's nothing about this was clear at all about what was going on. And before we knew, it was like, oh, well, we're playing in this abandoned department store and we're all here a little bit early. And now the event's starting at 1. We're just going to go walk to Chick-fil-A for breakfast or something, I guess. Right.
Yeah. That's nuts.
Yeah, no. We were definitely sort of like, when we came in, because we came in on the side where the store was, and, I don't remember who was I think we ran into, that's what it was. We ran into Matt Childress in the parking lot. And, and he was like, and we were like, where are you going? He's like, and I think he said, I think he was going to get food or something. And he was like, yeah, it's like in there, but it's like in the back, like just go in, like take a right, take a left, do whatever. And we're like, okay.
Good luck.
And so we kind of like were wandering through, and then I think we saw like Miles or somebody like down the hallway, and we were like, okay, like it's over here. And then we sort of like walk in, and we're like looking, and then there's like in the back corner is like these long tables. We're like, okay, like there they are.
Okay.
And I mean, it was different.
Sure. Yeah, that's weird. I don't know. I really wish they would get away. I know in some cases they can't help it, but these noon, 1 o'clock start times isn't the best in my opinion, especially with the way that UFS. You had 41 players. You had 6 rounds. Mm-hmm. We're looking at an average. I think other than the one that Iari won, I think they've all been 6 rounds so far, right?
I mean, there's only been 3.
3? Okay, so 2 out of the 3 have been 6 rounds. So that's a majority. And then
the event's going to be 8. Swiss is going to be 8 hours.
Yeah, it's going to be 8 hours. So you should, to give people, why not start at 10? Have a registration at 9:30 or 9. Start at 10. You finish Swiss by dinner. You have a dinner break. You can have a lunch break too, or you can just pile through to dinner, have a dinner break, then you do top cuts, and then you just finish it out the next day. It just doesn't make any sense to do it. Make you guys play till, 10, 11, whatever it was?
I mean, we probably finished up right around like 9 or 10.
Yeah,
it was probably around 9.
That's unacceptable in my eyes. That's not fair to the players, and it's just not fair to you guys, because you guys need to, for those who need to come back the next day, and especially if you go to dinner that night, you're not getting back to your hotel room till midnight, 1 o'clock. It's It doesn't make any sense.
I gotta tell you, like, honestly, like, I would have loved to have topped, but when I got diversified, I was kind of like, you know what? I don't even want to come back and play tomorrow. Like, I am beat. It's late.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be asleep until, like, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Sure.
Like,
yeah,
I'm cool with it.
Yeah. And
I'll take my 6 packs and call it a day.
This place is a mold-ridden dump.
Yeah, that's what else. Something else. That's also
not
what
coming back, but
yeah.
I figured I'd come see it. So.
Yeah, that's something else I heard, that the environment wasn't that clean in the thing. I get it's an abandoned department store, but still, though, man, it's
they certainly didn't sweep.
Yeah, that's
sure as heck didn't mop.
That's unacceptable.
There was visible mold on a number of the ceiling tiles.
That is disgusting. And, yeah. That's
so. Chris, let me put it to you like this: I got in there doing my deck registration.
Did something drop on you? Because that would have been hilarious.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm sitting next to Tamron.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, this place is pretty gnarly, huh?" And he goes, "Yeah, they film Walking Dead here."
Wait, did they really?
True.
Oh, wow.
Here's the thing. I have no idea if that was true, but I did not doubt that it was fact for a second. I was like, oh, yeah, of course you'd film something like post-apocalyptic, like the world ended here. Yeah, okay. I buy it.
That's too bad. That's just... that. I get it. Maybe the store wanted it there because they're doing their whole thing, but, there comes a point where...
My understanding is that the store themselves didn't have space.
Gotcha. Sure.
But... And so I guess like the mall itself is sort of aging and dying, and so the store sets up this con where they basically use all the abandoned storefronts for their panel rooms and stuff.
Yeah.
And so they use a department store as their quote unquote gaming hall. The board games there, they had a HeroClix thing there.
Oh, sure.
So like it makes sense in that context, but it's not actually a good place to have a tournament.
Yeah. All right, let's get off the slops. Let's get more onto more exciting things. So, outside of your guys' decks, what were you excited to see being played? Instead of talking about your own stuff. Who, like, anything, like, really strike your fancy or anything? Hey, that's kind of neat, I know, like, run-of-the-mill Akumas and stuff like that, but, like, was there anything?
There was a lot of excitement over Tigor's deck. I'm still not clear exactly on what it did.
Oh, that thing was amazing.
I actually got to see it.
That thing was cool, man.
The best part about that, speaking of slops, the best part about that is he took a draw because he was talking too much.
He should have won that, too.
He literally couldn't finish his round in an hour because he was like...
Yep. He's visibly on stream giving Brett Hillman props via text instead of siding in and out like he should have been. Yeah. So and I yelled at him at that. I yelled at him on Discord for
basically, it was a Quan Chi deck, and what it did is it used Let's Party and some other stuff to set up removing from game a Mimic and I guess a
Demon Grab?
Demon Grab.
Yeah.
And then it would play a Tech Sphere, copy Mimic, use Mimic's E to copy Tech Sphere, to copy Mimic, and so on. And then after he had iterated on that a certain amount of time, he would copy Demon Grab, use that E to say that you couldn't block it with actions or play actions or whatever it was. Also, it's now a throw, and then he would copy using Quan Chi. He would either copy Mega Man
or Donovan,
2 Dot, or Donovan, and commit a foundation to give it an arbitrarily large amount of damage. So, yep. I mean,
it was
pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Very wonky, but definitely not something that people were super prepared for. Also, you probably beat him every single game. So I think it was 10 attacks. So basically all you have to do is not let him resolve a
resolve a technical sphere.
Tech sphere.
Yeah. It was hilarious though watching it happen. It was actually pretty funny. So,
I mean, he started off pretty good. I think he started off 201.
Yeah.
And then, managed to finish the day
3-1-2.
Yeah. So that lunch break, man.
Yeah, always the lunch break. It always gets people. That lunch break.
Honestly, I'd say the coolest deck I played against was a Molina deck.
Was that the one that Keenan built and gave to Chris?
Keenan built it and gave it to Chris. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
I think it's Escargot.
I was going to say, it reminds me of Escargot.
Yeah. I think it's something like that. I know Chris. Chris is a good dude.
And I know, like, I sat down and saw it, and I was just like, I can't believe I took Big Cyclone out of the sideboard. And now I'm playing Melina. So it was on Void, lots of 6 checks, and I mean, it definitely ran some of the Sub-Zero stuff, the what's called like Deep Freeze, Frost Hammer type stuff, yeah. But like sort of the secondary kill was just like a giant Soul Charge, and he would just remove like 15 6 checks from like
that's kind of neat.
I mean, cool. it was definitely like he was able to. Well, so he Soul Charged me, pumped it for like 1 billion, and it wasn't going to kill me. I don't think. I think it was going to be like close, but not quite there. And then he plays a Tester Might, which just so happens to I have exactly 15 cards left in my deck, so it forces me to cycle. So I'm like, all right, well, like I guess now I'm living on the top deck. But in the 3 cards, he drew another attack, which I block. So yeah, but I was like, I can't believe I'm gonna get wrecked by
Tester Might. That's hilarious.
But
that sounds like the early builds of the Void Melina. I played at Tampa, had the Soul Charge in there, and a big focus on 6 checks.
Cool.
I felt like I wasn't getting the Soul Charge to land very often, so I eventually cut it.
Mm-hmm.
But Tester Might is certainly an interesting way to leverage that, even if it does get blocked.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know that he ended up like 4-2. And basically missed out on top 8 by like 1 strength of schedule point. So he was close. It was just like, needed one more person to win somewhere. But yeah, it was cool. I know he had a Yoga Mastery in there that certainly never got built Esoteric Yoga.
Esoteric Yoga.
And I just like saw that like as he checked it early one game, and I just had visions of playing a Molina that had built an Esoteric Yoga. And I mean, at that point, it's literally I can't do anything for like 2 or 3 turns until I like am able to get a War for Armageddon and play an attack.
Sure.
So and it's just one of those things. Like, I mean, if I can't do anything for like 2 or 3 turns, like I'm probably losing.
Yeah,
so
for the most part. Yeah.
But yeah, that was really cool. I have no idea what the full list was. It would have been I was hoping that would top. I would have loved to have seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I could ask Keenan, but
sure.
Yeah. Funnily enough, in the last round, he actually beat Keenan. Keenan was playing a Kotal Khan deck, and he certainly, and it was like basically like I guess he did bubble out, but it, effectively it was like a win and in. So like it certainly wasn't like Keenan, gave away a win or anything. And yeah, he was just like, I can't believe I just lost to my own Melina deck. So he's like, I'm really happy for Chris, but also I'm wondering if maybe I just played the wrong deck this week.
You know what's funny is that Melina showed up in more tournaments than Katana has. So is she the superior sister?
I think she does more that. I mean, obviously Katana Z is kind of unique, but like Melina's abilities are sort of more uniquely potent.
Sure.
Even with the low vitality. And ever since Dark Kirito's gotten printed, Katana just feels like a death wish to me. I mean, how do you scoop to most decks on 3 symbols? So
true.
But yeah, I mean, all of the stuff that got into tops. I mean, I guess Rodney getting in was cool. Definitely a very, very different core. Well, I mean, I guess he topped at Nats, right, in teams.
He's a sponsored Rockford CCG player now, kids. Got our Swiss champ under our belt. That's right.
But yeah, I guess was his list public after Nats? I have no idea.
I don't know. I think they lost in top 8 as well, so it wasn't. It was like they call it a shotgun Goro or whatever, but it just rolls you. It just plays as many attacks as it can to return. It's nuts.
Yeah, and this is like a sensationalist thing to say. I played him in last round of Swiss, and I'm playing for seeding, and like I didn't want to like play Kingmaker and like. Yeah,
I told Tim Keefe I was going to punch him in the face.
We talked about IDing for a minute. I was like, A, I don't want to do that. B, like I'm in this event to get experience.
Sure.
So let's see.
I looked down the table. I see them just like talking instead of shuffling, and I was like, "Don't you do this to me, Tim Keefe."
but yeah, it's a bit of an extreme thing to say. It felt like facing M59, honestly. He's playing 4 or 5 attacks every single turn.
You know what the big difference is between it and M59? He can block.
Yeah, he can't block.
Yeah,
like, he can block 1 or 2 things in a turn. It sucks.
He has 40 health. Yep. He's drawing extra cards, so he has and he has Foundation, so he can block.
Yeah.
His attacks are a little bit bigger.
Mm-hmm.
He starts 1 turn later.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
That's a big deal. But
sometimes.
Yeah.
He did go in on me on turn 1 at Nats. I remember that. That was very, very scary.
Yeah, sort of like him, and it's not guaranteed to be all mids. They could be any zone or subzones or whatever. Very true. Really hard, obviously there are some decks that can just blow up 40 health, and there are some decks, by turn 3, there are decks that have healed by a shaman and can just, have endless blocks on demand.
Yeah, because he lost to Dave, right, in Tops? Yeah, because he just built, 3 healed by shamans.
Breaker twos.
Yeah, breaker
the biggest thing is, right, for Rodney, one of the advantages that Goro has over, some of the other stuff is, when you pick up your 4 cards, they can just look and be like, okay, he's got 2 lows, a mid and a high or something. And so they already know. They're like, well, I have these blocks, I can partial this, I can full these, and they basically know what they have. Well, when you're playing this, as soon as you start drawing cards, if those are attacks, they don't know what they, it's you all of a sudden an attack's coming at you, and you're like, you didn't pick that up, where'd
it come from?
Obviously, he drew it, but
yeah.
And to clarify, pretty much every attack in this deck is some cheapo all attack that it's like the Christmas special. The entire attack base is just dinky little utility attacks with draw cards.
Hey man,
but it works because
sometimes it works.
To me, honestly, it's basically the Slams Metalman deck.
Oh, is it like Mayfia's and Beast Cannon and stuff like that?
It's
for the most part.
It's Beast Cannon, Mayfia's Assault, Gyro Attack, Nutcracker.
I'm having nightmares of Nats already.
It does have Canyon Flyer in there, which is pretty hype.
That's neat.
A little end of turn thing. Got a couple metal blades
in there.
Yeah, Cossack Slam.
Oh, cool.
When it's 6 damage instead of 2 damage, it's not bad, and it re-readies one of his face downs.
And it also has Desperation 2 on it too, right?
And so Desperation 2 in your 40 health character. Yep.
Just because of things.
They're arbitrarily really good in Goro.
Yeah, arbitrarily really good. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. He was one of my losses as well.
Mm-hmm.
I did win the die roll. I went first, and I failed. I played to basically get at least 2 foundations. Obviously checking a 2 if I'm trying to pass something on a 3 is bad.
Yeah.
So I played a 2, a 1, and then a 2, and checked a 3 on that. So I only got a 2 build, and I had tried to play. I don't know. I played something that had a block that I failed instead of a non-block, and then he ended up doing something, and then a beast cannon. And I think drew a transform or something. It was something weird where he basically ended up throwing I think he may have only passed 1 or 2 attacks, but it was something where I definitely could have probably saved myself 7 life just by holding on to a block.
Mm-hmm.
And just that he got ahead. I had a slow start and then not the best draw. So he was able to get that game. Then game 2, I went first again and just blew him up. And then in the 3rd game, he went first, built a little bit. I held a low block because he had checked a Nutcracker or something. And I was like, well, at least I won't take 12.
Yeah.
I'll take whatever else he's got, but not that. And he took me to, I think 13
Jeez.
On turn 2.
Wow.
With me full blocking a Nutcracker. So right, looking at his discard pile, he had all 3 zones. So I was like, well, I can basically pick up stuff, so I can block a high, a low, and a mid. But he's gonna watch me pick it up, and then he can just pick up all lows or a bunch of highs.
Yeah.
Basically, no matter what I do, I'm definitely taking partial damage off of at least 1 or 2 attacks. And I'm only blocking 3. He's gonna throw more than 3. I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
So I had to try to do 40 in with 3 foundations. I ended up getting him, like, that was the other thing. He had a sense of morals. So, like, even the stun, like, wasn't that helpful. Because then he just gets to, like, re-ready the stuff. So, I ended up throwing, like, 2 missile launchers, both for 10s. That did 20. And basically between that and, like, the mill from Goro and those, and I think I played the, what's the jet one? Folktale Storyteller.
Yeah.
To just play that and pull stuff down. I think I milled, like, I think I checked an attack on that and then milled 2 more when I played it. So that helped. And I got a Shokan grab to exactly 20. So it was 40 damage, but it was only like 4 speed. And he was able to basically like pass partial on a 6, sure. Which he easily did.
Yeah.
And then I had no cards.
And then he killed you.
So.
Yeah. I was able to stave him off going second as Lilith for a pretty good while.
Sure.
Like just using Cryptic Needle and Lilith to deny him a couple of card draws. But the problem was I had to keep blocking with my attacks to do that.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me to find 40 damage with Lilith. Like even with Missile Launcher and Nutcracker, like that's not going to get you all the way to 40. You still need to like get your other attacks and get your attack string going. And I didn't get like that fresh hot draw off the top of the deck where I draw up to full and get 4 attacks or whatever.
Yeah.
So game 2 I brought in Vicious because it's Goro, so obviously you bring in Vicious, and I locked his foundations down and I was able to play him in game 3. Now I'm going second. So he's got the extra turn on me to deal most of my life total.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have like put myself at 3 to flip his whole board and pray. But I decided to see if I could, like, he was on a blind draw for whatever reason. I probably should have surmised that he had low blocks, but I fished with like a 3-speed missile launcher to see, because if I caught him without low blocks, then I could kill him.
Mm-hmm.
But he had a low block, and so I needed to check a 5 to put myself at 3 and flip his whole board, and I didn't. So probably, I had no low blocks, so he would have just needed to draw like literally any of his low attacks or Metal Blades, and I was going to die anyway, so that's why I wanted to go for the kill there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I needed a much better draw to compete in that game.
I think that's one of the things, like, I was playing like a faster Goro as well that was based on Sean's list in Chicago, and kind of like the underrated thing about sort of like the faster sort of Goros is like it's similar to, like you said, like the M59 or like the Zoe decks and stuff, where half of their defense is forcing you to block with your attacks.
Yeah.
Because, like, if you don't want to just take like 7 damage off this thing, it's like do you want to take 7 or 8,
10, 12,
or do you just want to like spend that attack and basically be like, okay, well, I won't take this much damage, and like hopefully I'll draw more.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is if you don't draw like good attack hands for like a couple turns in a row, like you're probably just going to be dead eventually anyway, because he can change zone enough that unless you get like really lucky, and especially his, like with who's drawing cards, like he's playing more than 4 attacks like in a turn. And like he pretty easily can play like 5, 6, and you can't block them all.
Yeah.
So, and like that, and then especially if you start having to partial stuff, like you're not going to make it. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty scary.
So Shu ended up, unfortunately, he lost to Dave. He also was down a game, right? Unfortunately,
yeah,
because he forgot to attack.
He evaporated Dave in game 2.
Oh, did he really now? Wow. Yeah. And then you beat Tam. I want to talk about that match a bit. I know. I personally thought you had a really good matchup against it because Air Ground Smash does nothing against you. At least the first one.
Lilith is really mean to Jackie. Especially the water list that not only. I mean, it almost helps to be the water list because you sort of have more than 4 Air Ground Smashes, and he even had the technical sphere thing going on.
Yeah.
And he had out of your league, so it was a little bit better than it might have been if it was an Arrow Life list, but at the same time, I didn't have to worry about Urban Shower.
Yeah.
So I could attack much more freely. And in Swiss, I 2-0'd him. It took a little bit of time, but one of the games went to deadlock, and then I triple missile launched him. Because Overly Dramatic just fetches more missile launchers. Yeah, so
that's true. Yes, it is.
I knew going into the Top Cuts match, he was gonna have gone into the tank and come up with some other plans for the top 8 match, and
sure.
He turned around. He tried to do more work with his other attacks, right? Instead of relying, instead of sort of thinking like, okay, I need to find and play air ground smashes, just sort of resign himself to, well, I can still throw 8 damage quick bursts and 10 damage hand cannons and stuff like that. And
sure.
He was able to get a game off me like that. But he's without air ground smash, Jackie is still kind of pedestrian, and he got some very bad Jackie response draws that overlapped with some very good attack draws of mine.
Oh, cool. All right.
And so he kind of got my big attack turns in 1 and 3. Instead of running into any sort of resistance at all, ran into oops, Jackie drew me 3 no blocks.
Ooh, not good.
Yeah, so obviously I went in the attack swing thinking I could get through 1 block or maybe 2, but 0, it just wasn't happening for him.
Yeah,
so
yeah, sure.
One deck I faced in rounds that was kind of cool, and it made me a little bit sad to see it because it was an all Yamato man with the 6 checks and the big shots. And it's the kind of thing I've thought about as a post-Soul Calibur deck, because you get Ghost Thief, you get Sobot.
Yeah.
Soul Calibur's not out yet, and so this is Philip Watson. He had to run the Ally Attack Suite, which is not Ghost Thief and Sobot and Nutcracker. And it's really sad. You sort of know what he's doing. He's trying to prep that deck for Soul Calibur. But I cared so little about his attacks, I decided into Vicious because it's one of those decks where he just wants to put big shots on his things, right? It doesn't really matter what his attacks are.
Yeah.
At least not in this case. So that was one of my Vicious matches. I was able to pull it out against him, but I did. Working through Telekinetic Mastery is quite hard for Lilith too.
Oh, that's
I had to do a lot of work to knock those out with all my flips and stuff.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that flipping R's. War for Armageddon. Would you say that's probably one of the more underrated foundations out of Blood Omen? A lot of people, I know there were some people on the Discord saying I have no idea. I've never even seen that card played. I believe it was Christopher Bromley said that on the Discord, that he hasn't seen it played very much. It's because a lot of these newer players, I know he's part of an older group, but a lot of the newer players don't even see Blood Omen cards very much anymore. So it's that's one of those cards that I've kind of siphoned your knowledge, and I 4x that thing now. That thing is just incredibly powerful. It doesn't. It's a non-block. I don't care about the +4. It goes in. It goes in.
It's the only good enough that I'm running it as the only 4-check in my 5+5+5+ Lilith deck.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people are. It's growing on people more recently,
sure.
But it was definitely when I first started playing it in the Earth Jets at Rockford, there was a lot of oh, you're playing that card? What is that card?
Yeah.
It was knocking out Celestial Being, and Sense of Morals hadn't been printed yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's still really good. Obviously, Akuma's a thing, and both of his big foundations have responses on it.
Sure.
I found it annoyingly blank against some water builds. It could get Spaceland. This is the top 4 against Tommy Bagwell's Jada. You could hit Spaceland with it and Balanced Fighter, and that was pretty much it.
Okay.
Sure. A lot of Water's foundations are just enhances only, so it does have some misses.
Yeah. Gets that healed by Shaman, though. Gets that healed by Shaman, that's for sure. I'm pretty sure
it's extremely good against Raptor.
Yeah.
It's extremely good against Akuma.
Yeah.
Like many veteran players, I've always put a high premium on Foundation Hate, and that's why Garrett threw fits about Hunt for Spiders and Dragons for a while, because it was the only good Foundation Hate in the format, and it was throwing things off balance.
Yeah.
So yeah, anytime you can point at their best foundation, especially as we get more and more better foundations that are more key to decks, it's a good thing. And that's why I'm running, this 7 pieces of Foundation Hate Earth deck instead of a Water deck where I would just have I would have Treason. I would have Treason and Emergency Rations. That would have just been all you have access to there.
Yeah, like rations. I like rations, but it just seems like it
not
just
quite
stops.
the same. It's good against telekinetic, but not.
It's not the same.
It's actually fine against some of the shaman. If it's one shaman, it's good there.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I can actually knock down all the shamans. It's good.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I'd rather just flip it and get rid of it personally.
Rations and treason is not a bad place to be, but now Lilith can do it because she's running the cryptics.
Yeah,
but I'd still rather just have War for Armageddon and Commander.
Yeah, I mean, War for Armageddon is definitely a card that I liked for a while, and it just didn't seem to necessarily like pull its weight. And it might have just been because there just weren't that many foundations that were like ours that mattered. So, and I mean, the biggest thing for a long time was just like Ever Hopeful, and it sure didn't matter about that because you'd be like, well, I'll have this out, but you get first enhance anyway, so this is gone. Like, so it didn't work against Ever Hopeful, and then like other stuff was just kind of like, what are you gonna flip like a caught red-handed or something like? But also like those symbols weren't great.
Yeah.
I mean that's part of it. I mean obviously Evil and Earth are probably two of the top like 3 or 4 symbols now. So like having a piece like this is really right. It's just something that the symbols are on the rise, and that's a card that like, especially like newer people might just not even know about. And so it might not be like making its way into decks yet, but I'd expect to see it like a lot more. I mean it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, Earth's Foundation is one of the reasons I like it so much. Earth's Foundation selection. It's top level is stacked, right? Like it's got Sense of Morals, it's got War for Armageddon, it's got Voices in the Dark, it's got Vendetta.
Overly Dramatic.
Overly Dramatic. Yeah, that's a good card too.
Yeah.
But like one of the things has been that once you get past that, the position players and like your starting rotation and your closer or whatever.
Ooh, we're going to baseball terminology.
5 people of the roster and you don't want to get too deep into the 40-man roster, which is kind of this deck wound up at 62 cards, not because I was trying to keep it tight, but just because like I was stretching to play cards that like I felt good about to like I want to reduce my odds of drawing my Voices in the Dark to put this thing in here. There just wasn't that much there. It's going to get a little bit harder. Once Spirit Sword and Karma and Cosfield come out, that's going to flesh out that first 60 cards a lot more easily, and it's going to be hard to keep under 70.
Yeah.
That was something, Tris. Like you were talking about, like some of the newer players or whatever. This event, we went out to we did make it out to dinner after the tournament on Saturday. And we ended up like going out to, after like the place was closing up, we went out to the parking lot, and there was a number of us. I think it was like some of the Mississippi guys.
Okay.
The Virginia guys, 3 of them made the trip. Like Scott and I, Thomas, Miles, and there may have been some other people, but it was pretty big. But like pretty much like Keenan and some of the Atlanta guys, like they all went home. I know Tim like got back to his hotel, like had something to do the next day. I don't know what.
Didn't really have much.
And at one point, like we were talking a bit just about some of the like design change, as Thomas and I are wont to do, like just complain.
Yeah.
And it was funny because Miles was like talking about some of the King of Fighters stuff, and he's like, well, you guys remember, and like all the people like from like Mississippi or whatever, like, dude, like we started playing when Bebop came out. And he's like, okay, but you guys remember. And like all the Virginia guys were like, dude, we started playing with Street Fighter. And he's like, okay, but like you guys remember. We were like, well, I mean, we started playing with Rise of the Masters, but like we kind of know about the Street Fighter stuff. Like not when it was new, but we played with it for a long time.
Yeah, the King of Fighters crap,
And it was pretty wild with like, I guess, we sort of hear, oh, there's new players. And I really didn't get that sense probably until Nats last year.
Sure.
Like definitely just going and like meeting people where I was like, I have never seen this person before. I don't know what playgroup they're from, like at all. And it wasn't like it wasn't locals. Like when you go to like Worlds and stuff, like there's people who are like from Vegas that you just don't really necessarily see like outside of Vegas.
Yeah.
Or like maybe some of the California guys that don't get like out into like the Midwest.
Midwest,
or something.
yeah. Yep.
But yeah, I mean there were like definitely like decent contingents of like some of these other play groups that are new that are definitely playing. Like obviously they have like bigger play groups at home.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely like seeing someone talk about like other play groups that like maybe they didn't show up. I mean, obviously the Bromley was there from Florida, and I don't think there were a ton of Florida guys that like were able to make it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for sure there are, newer players out there that are playing.
There are.
And I mean, that's a plus at least.
Yeah. No, the game is growing. It's growing, not maybe by leaps and bounds, but it's growing, and it's steadily growing, which is a good thing. So.
Yeah. And that's even coloring some of the chatter, around the like. I was talking to Dave a little bit about Zhang Hua, and we're both like she might be a touch overrated, but there's a lot of people that are, really spooked by her, and Dave's like, us old people, we've played against Paralyzing Touch, we've played against Kaplow, we've played against these sorts of attacks and stuff, and. Well, some of those cards have gotten banned. It's a style of defense that has sort of been absent from the game recently, but
I miss Paralyzing Touch. Oh, I miss that card.
Okay, yeah, sure. But it hasn't been absent forever, right? It's just something that newer players haven't seen.
Yeah,
and so we're sort of familiar with the extent to which it doesn't necessarily ruin the game or anything like that. It's just another different thing you need to be able to play against. Mm-hmm. Even like when talking about something like Missile Launcher, there's talk about banning it. It's obviously more powerful than every other attack in the format. I don't think that's a contest.
Yeah, it's not. Yep. There's a big gap.
People who played with Chasm Buster and Divine Tribulation and in that era, the game has survived having cards that are this much better than everything else, just sort of in the meta for their lifetimes.
And they're printing stuff. Like in Soul Calibur, there's so much stun hate and stuff like that. It's just...
Well, I mean,
eventually,
Missile Launcher's a lot more than just the stun.
Oh, I understand that, but eventually, it's getting... they're at least printing answers to it. Like Sense of Morals was a start and stuff like that.
I'll tell you what.
So.
Far more than stun hate, I would just prefer like speed resets or just keyword hate.
Yeah.
I mean, when that's the thing is like you start getting like the stun hate, like whatever Undying Rage or whatever it is, and like Wandering Pirate and stuff like that is it's fine against like against like Missile Launcher, but again, like if you're on Earth, you're just running War for Armageddon and you'll flip it. Or you just won't play stun 2, and you'll be like, well, it's still 7 speed and it's low, so block it.
Yeah, so powerful.
Whatever.
Yeah.
And when you print some of those like blanket things like that, like Sense of Morals, is you really squeeze out the people that are playing like the stun ones, and the things that are just like, well, I'm doing stun and I'm not really doing anything like broken. Like I'm just trying to utilize this mechanic, and you're just like, oh, you have Sense of Morals and like reclaiming what's ours, like or refusing to let go.
Yeah.
Like, well, guess I just can't play stun 1 for the rest of the game until I like deal with that.
Okay.
So,
but at the same time, like the point is that like unless you're just gonna do something like what they did with the unrotation, and unless your objective is to just shave off the whole top level of the meta and ban like 12 things. If you're going to ban 10 things, then Missile Launcher is certainly on the list. But from the like conservative, like Jasko only wants to ban things that are like visibly ruining the game. For the most part, except for like Goro, who's kind of silly anyway, and maybe Kung Jin, Missile Launcher is sort of making mediocre decks competitive.
Yeah, true. Are you saying your deck's mediocre?
That's okay.
Are you saying your deck's mediocre?
Without Missile Launcher, that would not work anywhere near as well. I was like, no. Somebody said in Discord, "Logo, I'm sure Tim could make this deck work without Missile Launcher." Like, no, I would not play it. I would just play Vicious.
All right,
Vicious could work without Missile Launcher.
Yeah, he can.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll wrap up that segment there. Let's get into the Mountain View PTC, which is in California. I think they believe they moved locations. It's March 23rd and 24th out in California in Mountain View. So, Tim, as the resident guest, you have to pick 3 things. You have attendance, how many diversities, and you have to pick 2 characters that could win.
Oh goodness.
Well, we can go. We can do attendance first, then winners, then diversity. That's how we normally do it.
I'm going to start by looking up the attendance at Cameron Park.
It was 18.
18?
It was 18, yeah.
We're a little bit closer to Worlds. I'm going to go 25.
Okay. It's closest without going over, so we're Price is Right style. So 25.
I said 25. We're going with 25.
25. Robert.
23.
Oh my gosh.
Baby.
I'm going 22.
Mine's about 23. Picks 22.
I don't know.
This is great.
I got a 3
I win
point.
with any number from 25 to 60.
Hey man,
Until Barrett's like 26.
I have a 3-point lead. I can give up some ground. So we got some winners. Who are we picking for winners, guys? Tim, you can go first.
Well, I do know that Iari claims he will not be playing Akuma again.
Yeah.
So.
I think I have an idea who may be playing, but
See, Chris is in here just like, ha!
I actually don't have any inside knowledge this time. I have no inside knowledge this time.
I'm going to go ahead and name Raptor, though.
Okay, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, after Dave let me down.
Robert, you?
I'm going to say Elena. Got close last time. I would imagine that guy's probably put some more work in on it.
I'm going Goro on this one. I'm going Goro. I'm thinking the guy
there.
I think the guy who played it in Cameron Park may play him again, I think. And he may just adapt Rodney's list if he likes that style of play, but I don't know. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean that was certainly going to be my other pick.
You can pick the same character. It doesn't have to be different.
It's just lame.
It's just lame, but whatever.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna pick. I don't know if he'll show up. I'm gonna take Kung Jin though. Somebody has to run that deck someday.
Other than Jesse,
there might have been one at Atlanta. I think Thomas Raw brought his YOLO. I'm gonna try to pass.
Yeah, he turned one Ben. He turned one Ben Lambright. He formed and checked
Thomas Raw played it, and there was Dan something. I don't remember his last name. He was playing it as well. I played him in the second round. I mean, yeah, it was all right. I mean, honestly, Kung Jin was probably my backup deck. And then I decided that I didn't want to work that hard.
Fair enough.
So,
Rob, your second character.
Ooh. I'm so tempted to go with Jackie again because, she has to do something at some point, right? But
I'll laugh if nobody calls Akuma. Just call Akuma.
Oh, right, Akuma.
That was gonna be my pick. That was gonna be my pick. Yeah. So, I'm gonna pick Cassie. I'm gonna go with Cassie.
That's fair. Yep.
She's so bad.
She's so good. And in 11, she's amazing. But I also heard she's like an average character. She doesn't do anything very, very good. She's just good at everything. So she's like the all symbol. She's good at everything, but not a master of none. So, Tim, how many diversities? This is actual diversities. Did they have any in Cameron Park?
Last time, I think there were 2.
Cameron Park had 2, yeah, because me and Rob both got points off of that.
I'm going to say 1.
1? All right. Rob?
I'm going to go with 0 this time.
Ooh. I kind of want to say 3 for some reason. I don't know if any Vegas people are going.
You said there's going to be 22 people, and you think there's going to be 3 diversities?
Because people want to scumbag each other. I don't know why, but they just will. Sure. Nah, I'm gonna go with. Oh man, I can't pick halves. I'm gonna go 2. I'm just gonna go 2. I want to go 1.5. I want to go 1.5. I really wanted to go 1.5, but
Okay, you know what?
You can name 1.5, you just won't get any points.
Yeah, that's also true. That's also true. So just to recap, for attendance, Tim said 25, Rob said 23, I said 22. Tim picked Kung Jin and Lord Raptor, 2 dot. Rob picked Elena and Akuma, 2 dot. I picked Goro and Cassie. Tim has 1 diversity, I have 2, and Rob has 0. So we'll get Barrett's on the next show next week because we have one more show beforehand. We'll figure out something to talk about. So I don't know what we're going to talk about, but we'll figure something out. So we always do. So we were going to do a card of the week, but we kind of went over.
Talk about War for Armageddon.
Talk about War for Armageddon. So there you go. There you go, kids. War for Armageddon.
I'll just quickly hype up Voices of the Dark. If you think that card's bad, you're wrong. Play that card.
Yeah,
I used all 4 phases of that card. This event. 4 out of 5. I did not shuffle in my own momentum because that's silly. But I shuffled in a card out of my discard pile. I sure as heck shuffled in some future poolside dates.
Yeah.
I certainly got rid of momentum with it, and I used the flip for -1 damage a couple times.
Cool. Yeah. The card's really good.
Yeah, you know, it doesn't block, but spam is sort of there to be played after your attack strings. Spam with good blocks is sort of a weird thing because those are the foundations that you can actually pass after you attack.
Mm-hmm.
But then they're also the ones you want to hold because they block nice. So I've always thought like the notion of blocking with spam is a little overrated because normally you want to be playing those cards and you get stuck holding your 2 diffs and 3 diffs.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. So that's it for the show. Tim, thanks a lot for coming on. Congratulations, buddy.
Yep.
It's a great way to lead into Worlds and for our team. It's a good thing to have.
You're going to start warming up for Worlds. It's probably maybe you don't want to call too much attention to maybe making people think about their Lilith matchup, but you know.
Yeah. I know that's something you said that you didn't want her to draw too much attention to her, but you had 4 people play her in Atlanta, so some people know about her. So, because everyone knows about
people think twice about their all-in sublimating blade decks.
Yep. All right, guys. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget about the contest still running. I believe it's until March 31st. Sign up, get your free Soul Calibur ultra rare card. There's gonna be 2 into the drawing. 1 from Jasco, 1 from yours truly, because we love you guys. And that's pretty much it. So look out for Rockford CCG t-shirts coming soon to special players out there. You guys will get yours soon. I promise. Good night. Have a good night. Bye.